Join our family of creators. Your support means the world to us. Subscribe now to the Content Creator channel. Your support keeps us motivated and helps us bring you fresh, exciting content every week. Hit that subscribe button and be part of our journey. Good evening. In the heart of our nation's capital, a seismic shift is underway. It's not an earthquake you can feel under your feet, but its tremors are being felt from the halls of Congress to the front lines of our military bases around the world. We are talking about the sweeping changes former President Donald Trump is signaling for the Department of Defense, or as he has increasingly taken to calling it, the War Department. This isn't just about shuffling a few names on an organizational chart. This is a fundamental reimagining of America's military leadership, driven by one man's vision and his demand for absolute loyalty. The implications could reshape our country's role on the global stage for decades to come. These are not subtle moves. They are bold, they are swift, and they are deeply controversial. Since his victory last November, and with his inauguration just a few months away, President-elect Trump has wasted no time in laying the groundwork for his second term. He is not waiting for the formal transition of power. Through announcements, interviews, and posts on his Truth Social platform, he has made his intentions crystal clear. He plans to install a new cadre of leaders at the Pentagon who are unwavering patriots dedicated to his America First agenda, rather than what he calls the globalist establishment that has run the military for generations. The term War Department itself is a deliberate throwback, a name we haven't officially used since 1947. So, let's break down exactly what has happened. The changes began to be announced just last week. The Trump transition team, operating out of Mar-a-Lago, released a list of intended nominees for the highest positions at the Pentagon. The list was a shock to many defense analysts. Topping it was the pick for Secretary of Defense, Robert Wilkie. You may remember him as the Secretary of Veterans Affairs during Trump's first term. While he has government experience, his background is not in leading the world's most powerful military. He is known, however, for his steadfast loyalty to the former president, a quality that appears to be the primary criterion for selection. The shakeup doesn't stop at the top. The entire civilian leadership structure is being targeted for replacement. Secretary of the Army, Secretary of the Navy, Secretary of the Air Force. They are not the typical former generals or defense policy experts we are used to seeing. Instead, they are a mix of political allies, former campaign staffers, media personalities who have been vocal supporters of the MAGA movement. Kash Patel, Douglas Macgregor. Both are known for their sharp criticism of past military interventions and their calls for a more isolationist foreign policy. Beyond the civilian appointments, there's a more alarming development. Trump has publicly stated his intention to bypass the traditional promotion system for senior military officers. This is a direct challenge to the structure and culture of the armed forces, which has always prided itself on loyalty to the Constitution, not to a particular political figure. To understand why this is happening, you have to go back to Donald Trump's core message: America First. In his view, the United States has spent too long and too much money defending other countries while neglecting its own interests. He sees our international alliances, like NATO, not as sources of strength but as drains on our resources. He has repeatedly complained that our allies are not paying their fair share for the security umbrella that America provides. His plan for the Department of Defense is the logical extension of this worldview. He wants a military that is focused squarely on defending American borders and American interests, not on policing the world. Trump has often expressed his frustration with what he calls the endless wars in the Middle East. He campaigned in 2016 on a promise to bring our troops home, and it's a promise he is now doubling down on. He blames the generals and the military-industrial complex for keeping the United States entangled in conflicts that he believes do not serve our national interest. By installing leaders who share his skepticism of foreign intervention, he aims to finally achieve his goal of a full withdrawal from long-standing commitments in places like Syria, South Korea, Germany. His supporters see this as him fulfilling a key promise to stop spending American blood and treasure on other people's problems. Another key part of his rationale is what he perceives as a woke agenda infecting the military. He and his allies have criticized the Pentagon's diversity initiatives, arguing they weaken the military by prioritizing social politics over combat readiness. Trump has promised to de-wokeify the armed forces, and that starts with getting rid of the leaders who oversaw those policies. He wants to replace them with what he calls warriors, not social justice warriors. Donald Trump sees the federal bureaucracy, including the Department of Defense, as part of a deep state that worked to undermine his first term. This time, he is determined to have people in charge who will execute his commands without question, ensuring his vision will be carried out without internal opposition. The common thread connecting all of Trump's intended nominees is undeniable: a proven track record of personal loyalty to him. Robert Wilkie, the pick for Defense Secretary, is a prime example. During his tenure as VA Secretary, he was known for his staunch defense of the president, even amid controversy. He is not a four-star general or a seasoned diplomat with deep experience in global security strategy. Instead, his main qualification appears to be that Trump trusts him to carry out his orders. This preference for loyalists over seasoned experts represents a dramatic departure from how past presidents of both parties have approached national security appointments. This pattern extends down the line. Figures like Kash Patel are not traditional defense intellectuals. Patel rose to prominence as a fierce Trump defender during the investigations into Russian interference. He later held senior roles where his primary function seemed to be ensuring agencies were aligned with the White House's political agenda. The elevation of figures like retired Colonel Douglas Macgregor is also telling. Macgregor has been a frequent cable news guest, advocating for radical drawdown of America's military presence overseas. He has called for pulling out of NATO, and has questioned the value of our alliances in Asia. While his ideas have long been considered outside mainstream foreign policy thinking, they align perfectly with Trump's isolationist instincts. By bringing people like Macgregor into the inner circle, Trump is not just changing personnel, he is changing the entire philosophical foundation of the Pentagon. The danger, according to many former defense officials, is that this approach creates an echo chamber where the president is surrounded only by people who tell him what he wants to hear. The traditional role of defense leadership is to provide the president with a full range of options and voice concerns, even if it means disagreeing with the commander-in-chief. By prioritizing loyalty above all else, Trump risks creating a system where no one is willing to speak truth to power, where dissenting opinions are silenced, and where the president's impulses go unchecked by the wisdom and experience of military professionals. Just yesterday, on September 12, 2025, the president-elect held an impromptu press conference on the lawn of his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. Flanked by some of his intended nominees, he doubled down on his plans for the War Department. He was defiant and confident, dismissing criticism from what he called the fake news media and the Washington swamp. We are going to have the strongest, toughest, and most loyal military leadership in the history of our country. No more politically correct generals who are afraid to win. We are going to put warriors in charge, and they will answer to one person, the President of the United States. During the press conference, Trump specifically addressed concerns about his choice for Secretary of Defense Robert Wilkie. They say Bob Wilkie doesn't have enough experience. You know what experience he has? He has the experience of being loyal. He's a patriot. He's not one of these globalists who wants to send our kids to die in foreign countries that don't even like us. He believes in America first, and that's the only experience that matters to me. This statement encapsulates his thinking. He sees traditional experience as a liability, not an asset, because he associates it with the policies he wants to dismantle. He also took aim at current military leadership, accusing them of being more concerned with woke nonsense than with winning wars. He repeated his promise to conduct a full review of all general officers and to fire those who do not meet his standards of patriotism and toughness. We're going to get rid of the rot, he declared. For too long, our military has been run by people who are ashamed of America. That's going to end on day one. We will have generals who are proud of our country and who are not afraid to use American power to protect American interests. When asked about his message to nervous allies, Trump was blunt. My message is that they need to start paying their bills. The days of America writing a blank check to defend the world are over. If they want our protection, they're going to have to pay for it. And if they don't want to pay, that's fine, but then they're on their own. The press conference was a clear and unambiguous statement of intent for his second term. The reaction from around the world has been a mixture of shock, anxiety, and deep concern. In Brussels at NATO headquarters, there is a palpable sense of dread. For more than 75 years, the alliance has been the bedrock of European security, built on the principle that an attack on one member is an attack on all. Trump has long been a critic of NATO, and his new appointments are seen as a clear sign he is serious about potentially withdrawing from the alliance. An official from a major European nation told CNN, "We are preparing for the possibility that America is no longer a reliable partner. We have to be ready to defend ourselves." In Asia, the response has been similarly worried. Japan and South Korea both rely on American military presence to deter aggression from North Korea and China. Trump has repeatedly questioned the cost of stationing U.S. troops in these countries and suggested they should pay more for their own defense. The appointment of isolationist figures has fueled fears that the U.S. might pull troops out, potentially destabilizing the entire region and triggering a local arms race. Conversely, America's adversaries are likely watching these events with great interest and perhaps even satisfaction. For countries like Russia and China, a United States that is disengaging from the world and at odds with traditional allies is a strategic gift. Russian state media has already begun to portray Trump's moves as a positive development, suggesting it will lead to a more multipolar world where American dominance is a thing of the past. The internal turmoil in the U.S. serves their interests perfectly. Even in the Middle East, a region Trump wants to leave, the proposed changes are causing instability. Israel and Saudi Arabia, while they may have welcomed his tough stance on Iran during his first term, the prospect of a full American withdrawal from the region leaves them feeling vulnerable. The unpredictability of Trump's America First policy means that no one, friend or foe, can be sure of what to expect. This uncertainty itself is a destabilizing force, making a dangerous world even more so. Here at home, the impact of Trump's announcements is creating deep divisions within one of our country's most respected institutions, the U.S. military. For a service built on order, discipline, and a clear chain of command, this level of political turmoil is deeply unsettling. Many senior officers who have spent their entire careers serving presidents of both parties are now facing a profound crisis of conscience. They took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, not a political party, not a specific individual. The idea of a loyalty test based on political affiliation strikes at the very heart of the military's nonpartisan ethos. There is a real fear among many active duty and retired officers that these changes will lead to a purge of the military's top ranks. The public call to fire generals is unprecedented and risks turning military promotions into a political spectacle. This could create a chilling effect, where officers become afraid to offer their candid advice, for fear of being labeled disloyal or woke. A military where generals are chosen based on their political views, rather than their battlefield experience and strategic acumen, is a weaker military. This is the stark warning we are hearing from a number of highly respected retired four-star generals. On the other hand, it's important to acknowledge that Trump's message does have support within some corners of the military. There are enlisted soldiers and officers, particularly younger ones, who are tired of long deployments and feel that the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were a waste. They are drawn to his promise to end the endless wars and to focus on protecting America's borders. Some also share his frustration with what they see as political correctness in the military and welcome the idea of a return to a more traditional, warrior-focused culture. This creates a potential fault line within the ranks, between those who see Trump as a threat to the institution and those who see him as its savior. The long-term consequences of this politicization could be devastating. It could damage morale, hurt recruitment, and erode the trust that the American people have in their military. For generations, the military has been one of the most trusted institutions in the country, largely because it has been seen as standing apart from the political fray. If it comes to be seen as just another tool of partisan politics, that trust could quickly evaporate. This is not just a theoretical concern. It's a real and present danger that many defense experts are warning about as they watch these events unfold. So, what happens next? The coming weeks and months will be critical. The first major battle will be in the United States Senate. All of these high-level appointments must be confirmed. We will be watching to see if moderate Republicans join with Democrats to block controversial nominees. Mitt Romney of Utah, Susan Collins of Maine. Their votes could determine if Trump gets the leadership team he wants or is forced to compromise. The confirmation hearings will be a political showdown, a test of the Senate as a check on presidential power. Keep a close eye on the Pentagon. How will military leadership, including the Joint Chiefs of Staff, respond? Will we see early retirements from generals who refuse to serve? Or will they stay on to provide moderation and continuity? Actions between now and the January 20th inauguration will send a powerful signal about the health and resilience of our military as an institution. Their professionalism is being tested in an unprecedented way. Beyond Washington, watch allies and adversaries. Allies in NATO and Asia might increase defense spending or seek new security partnerships. China and Russia. Any sign of American disengagement could embolden them. The international landscape is on a knife's edge, and the perception of American retreat could tip the balance in dangerous ways. These changes are more than a personnel shuffle. They challenge the post-World War II consensus on America's role. They challenge the non-partisan nature of the military. The stakes could not be higher. Security of our nation, stability of the global order, the character of one of America's most vital institutions. Will this make America stronger and safer, as Trump promises, or leave it isolated and vulnerable, as critics fear? That is the defining question of our time. It's a question we will continue to ask and seek answers to right here.